Thank you so much. Hello, Channel 11. I'm Michelle LeClaire with Family Violence Project. I'm the Community Awareness and Prevention Educator.
And I'm Mike Pike. I'm the Domestic Violence Sexual Assault Investigator with the Somerset District Attorney's Office.
And we're here today to talk about Domestic Violence Awareness Month. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we have some events lined up and just wanted to chat with y'all about it.
It's a busy month for those of us that work in the field of domestic violence services.
Yeah, it's busy, but so important because
Absolutely.
we need to talk about these things. You know, domestic violence is one of those things that is in the shadows, in the darkness, and being there only makes things worse. You know, we need to bring it into the light and talk about it so that people can be safe and know that they have support and know that they're loved. And we know that they're making really hard decisions every day for their safety and the safety of their kids. And we are here for you to support you as your community, as, you know, an organization. But we know, you know, we may be the Domestic Violence Resource Center, but we can't do this work alone, right? We need everyone in the community. So we can talk about the theme of this year's Domestic Violence Awareness Month is what does safety mean? And so this can mean something different to individual people, right, Mike? Like, can you give some examples of what safety looks like for folks?
Well, I mean, safety could be something as elementary as just a warm, comfortable place to live. But there's so much more that goes beyond that. I mean, if home isn't those things, if it's not a safe place for someone, how do we connect people who may need services to help with that, find the help that they need? And that's kind of one of the reasons that we wanted to get together again in observance of Domestic Violence Awareness Month to kind of talk about those things. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, having a warm, comfortable place to sleep. I mean, having food on the table. Just having a general feeling of safety and well-being in your everyday life. Some folks don't have those things.
Excuse me.
And, you know, it's really important to talk about that and hopefully get those folks the help that they need.
And that's such a big piece, right? Because home is supposed to be the safest place, right? So we're supposed to be able to relax, you know, just chill out. And if home is not a safe place, then that really affects your well-being and the well-being of children because they're, you know, very aware of that. And so, you know, in Maine, I think we all think it's really safe. You know, we have a really low crime rate, but for the people who are experiencing domestic abuse, home is not a safe place. And, you know, when you think about what that does to someone, it's huge. And so, like Mike said, maybe some people need a different place to be, or maybe they need cameras set up, you know, so they're outside so they know if someone's coming, or, you know, just even the simple thing of like getting new locks or, you know, whatever that may look like for them. So we have some events coming up. We can talk about the vigil. Our vigil, Domestic Violence Vigil, put on with the Domestic Violence Task Force here in Somerset, is going to be on October 7th, and that's at Coburn Park at 6 o'clock. We'll be there with a lot of different folks. It's open to everyone to come. We'll be talking about this more, and so if you want to come and talk about, you know, your experience, your neighbors, you know, your loved ones, bring everyone, because we know that this affects 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men. So we are all affected by abuse. So please share it with folks, and we'll be talking more about what does safety mean. We also have a time where we read all the names of the people who have lost their lives this last year in a homicide or murder. And so we acknowledge all the people who have lost their lives, not just by domestic violence, but unfortunately, you know, usually 40 to 50% of the names are folks who have lost their lives because of abuse, which is really awful.
And I think that's a pretty telling statistic about the state of Maine in general. As you said, we do have a relatively low crime rate. We have an extremely low homicide rate. However, if you look at the percentage of those homicides that happen in Maine every year, as you said, roughly half or even a little bit more than half are directly related to domestic violence. And so it's this huge, you know, community health concern. It's a safety concern for all of us. And it's great that we have these events in October to kind of bring these things to the forefront and get folks who maybe otherwise aren't directly impacted by domestic violence to be aware of it and to be thinking about it and maybe look Look at your friends or your neighbors or family members who might be in a potentially abusive situation and think about ways to support and help them.
And it may be scary, right? If you're like, I think this might be happening, but I don't know what to do. Know that you can always call our helpline to get some support around that. And, saying something is so, you never know how that can change someone's life, or calling the police if you are worried about someone's safety in that specific moment. Because, people are told when they're being abused, they're told by their partner that no one cares about them, no one cares that this is happening, that, no one is there for them. When the reality is, we are all there for you, and I think a lot of people don't know how to talk about it. So that's why you can always call us. We have information on our website and on our Facebook page about how to talk to a friend or loved one or coworker who may be experiencing this. And it's okay if, you ask the question, say, I heard a fight the other night. I'm a little worried about you. Do you need anything? Is there any support you need? Or you can, get our card. We like to have them everywhere, including like the chamber. Your local library will be getting some information too, so you can pick up information there. And it's great to have those cards so that you can say, I heard this happening. This agency is available 24/7. All services are confidential. I'm worried about you. I'm concerned about your safety, and I just want to support you in whatever way. And, it can be hard, but we need to have these conversations. It's scarier not to have them. And it's hard because Maine, we're really private people, right?
Yeah.
Like that's sort of a value that we have where it's like, oh, what happens, behind closed doors stays there. But we need to bring this out because, our friends and neighbors' lives depend on it too. People do not deserve to be abused. And no matter what their partner is telling them, this isn't this isn't their fault that it's happening. I've worked with people who said, every day I tried to do it different. I tried to do it right so that my partner wouldn't hurt me. But it's not about what they're doing. It's a choice their partner is making to be abusive. And so it's important to talk about it and just be that resource, be that lifeline to your friend or neighbor. And if you're scared of having the conversation, call the helpline. We're there for you.
Sure. And just to pick up on something you said earlier about confidentiality, I think it's important for folks to recognize that if they do reach out to the helpline and talk to an advocate from Family Violence Project, that is 100% confidential. They're not mandated reporters to law enforcement. There's no requirement that they pick up the phone and they call the police or they share any information at all, and they won't without that particular survivor's consent. So when you do reach out to Family Violence Project and you do talk to them, as closely as you and I work together in advocacy and law enforcement, you won't violate that person's trust or their confidentiality by talking to me or talking to another police officer about what is going on without their specific permission. I think that's important because I think a lot of times one of the reasons that survivors don't come forward is they are afraid of getting the police involved and getting the court system involved, which is something that certainly could happen if that survivor decided that was the direction they wanted to go. But there's so many more facets to supporting survivors than just reporting to law enforcement.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Mike, because, it is scary. What's going to happen if you talk to an advocate? Like, it feels like it opens this whole can of worms that you don't know how to put back in, but know that when you call the helpline, it is confidential. We trust survivors. You know your situation best. You know your abusive partner best. We know that you are making the best decisions for your safety. And we're there, to talk about options, to talk about resources, and really just to listen. Because we know that folks who are experiencing this, they may not have anyone they can talk to. It's scary to tell, maybe your friend or family member that this is happening, because you might not want to leave your partner. It might not be safe to leave your partner. And you may say, if I tell them this, they're going to judge me. They're going to judge my partner. You may not be ready for that. And, it's just scary to open up about this sometimes. So we can be like, a confidential person with no, you don't see us in your life every day, You get to call us when it makes sense for you and talk to us confidentially. We are mandated reporters. So if, we have concerns of child abuse or neglect, we do have to make those reports, but we're very open and upfront on the phone with you about that as well, because we know that may not be the safest thing for you. That's why, and that's, safety is the primary concern. And we know that people know what's safest for them. You know, maybe calling the police would be like poking the bear. Maybe that would be really upsetting to that person's partner. And, you know, the repercussions could be worse than what's happening right now. So we trust survivors to make those decisions because we know it's different for everyone. And, you know, you're already working so hard to keep yourself and your kids safe. So I want to give you credit for that too. But know that you can call us to find out what the resources are, you know, locally and through our agency, and just what opportunities are available, because you don't have to do this alone. It's a lot, and it's often like, it takes time, right? Like, it takes time to make those plans and to figure out what's going to be safest, because we know leaving is the most dangerous time for people.
Absolutely.
You know, it's really scary. Everyone says, why don't they just leave? But leaving does not mean equal safety. You know, leaving, I feel like when people who are using abuse, you know, they're squeezing tighter and tighter, and every act of resistance makes them squeeze tighter, and especially leaving, you know, it's just very volatile. So we support people in doing that in the safest way. Staying with their partner may be the safest thing, and that's okay. We'll support you no matter what you choose.
Yeah, and I think it's important to and maybe this would be worth having a brief conversation about, Michelle, are people who maybe are supports for someone who is a survivor or experiencing domestic violence. And, you know, talking to folks who don't have a lot of exposure to the dynamics of domestic violence and maybe haven't worked with a lot of domestic violence survivors, it's easy sometimes to just say, well, why don't you just leave? But you and I know, you know, based on our experience working with domestic violence, it's not that simple, is it?
Right, it's not at all. And the risks that come with leaving, you know, are so much bigger than with staying, because we know, you know, when survivors are with their partners, they at least know where their partner is, they know their schedule, they know what's happening, they can plan for that. After they've left, you know, they're often looking over their shoulder, always wondering what's next. You know, their partner may make threats like, you can leave, but you'll never see the kids again. You know, that is a very real threat that people have made. And that fear is very real for a survivor. And so we know that leaving it's not always the answer, and it has to be done in a survivor's time. And instead of saying, why aren't you leaving? Why aren't we looking at the person using abuse and saying, why are they being abusive? Why aren't we holding them to that standard of stopping the abuse? Why aren't they stopping the abuse? Why do they think they have the right to do this to their partner and family? It's really, the way our society talks about abuse is really telling about, you know, what the things we're willing to do. And so we hope things are changing. We hope conversations like these and the vigil and, you know, going and supporting our friends and loved ones who are experiencing this, you know, knowing that this isn't a choice that anyone's making to experience abuse. And staying is not the reason someone is being abused. So really shifting that focus. And if people have more questions about that, they can call us. You know, we're here to talk, and come to the vigil. Come and, you know, see what we do and talk about this with our community members. There's often, we do a speak out during the vigil where people are able to, you know, share what's in their heart. We shut the cameras off for this. We're going to make sure to do so. We did have the event on Facebook Live last year, and we want to shut the cameras off for the speak out so that people, you know, can choose if they want to share. And, you know, that's an opportunity if people want to share what's, you know, what their experience has been or what they think community members need to do. You know, we all have a role in ending this, and we've talked about how as a friend or as a family member or coworker you can talk about it, but employers can also do things about it. Employers can have a domestic violence policy. You know, it's a work safety issue just like anything else, just like, I don't know, knowing how to run the forklift. You know, people who are certified do that. You know, it's just a part of work safety, you know, to have a domestic violence policy. So we encourage people to call us and have that, you know, so that people know if this is going on in your life, you can talk to HR, you can make a plan, you can, you know, do what you need to do to be safe at work. Because it's all of us. I keep saying that, but it's true. We can't do this work alone, and it is a change that all of us need to recognize we all have a role in.
Sure. And we'll have the silent witnesses again this year.
Yes.
At the vigil.
Yeah, that's the plan. So that'll be, again, on October 7th at 6 p.m. at Coburn Park. You can find out more on Facebook or on our webpage. just, facebook.com/Family Violence Project or www.familyviolenceproject.org. And then there's also going to be a vigil in Augusta for folks that are tuning in from away. We'll also be having a vigil on October 14th in Augusta at Capitol Park across from the Capitol building. So that'll be at the same time, 6 o'clock, and a similar format for sure.
And of course, being mindful of the times in which we live, both events will be outside. Proper social distancing and COVID-related protocols will be recognized. We want people to feel safe, with their health, their physical health, as well as feeling safe attending the event from a personal safety perspective, I guess.
Right.
But we're not doing any of our indoor activities again this year because of the COVID concerns. But yeah, we'll be outside in a beautiful time of year.
Yeah.
Coburn is a beautiful venue. It's always it's a solemn occasion, but it's very meaningful, and it's great to have in observance of domestic violence awareness.
Yeah, and we appreciate the Somerset County Domestic Violence Task Force and all they do for planning that. The Women's Auxiliary Group in Skowhegan is the women's group.
Yes.
They always put up beautiful purple ribbons, just really, and purple lights around the gazebo, to show, to shine more light on it and let people know where it is. And we're so grateful for them. And it's just so nice that, so many community members come out to do this event because this does affect all of us. You may think you don't know someone who's experienced this, but you do. I promise you. We all do. And, it does affect our lives, and it affects our kids' lives, and it's important. We need to talk about this, and people deserve to be safe, especially in their home. I think about that, you need to be able to relax,
Sure.
And people who are experiencing this are having to, think 5 steps ahead of their partner at all times, and that's exhausting, and it has all kinds of other effects on people. So we can talk about the 5K now. Our race to end domestic violence is happening on October 17th, which is a Sunday at 9 a.m. at the KVCC Alfond Recreation Center is the start of it at 15 Stanley Road in Hinckley. We're so grateful to KVCC for giving us that awesome venue. It is so great. It's such a beautiful campus.
It is, and especially in October when the foliage change, it's just awesome. And a couple of other considerations for folks that haven't done it before. It's an entirely paved course, stroller friendly, wheelchair friendly for folks who may want to participate, and a very safe, beautiful, scenic venue.
Yeah.
And
it does go along, what's that main route right there?
201.
201, but it's coned off. The Fairfield police are amazing. They really, keep the speed down in that area, which I don't know if you've driven through there, but people usually fly, but not on Sunday morning, not on Sunday, October 17th.
Yep.
People will be driving very slowly, and it's only one part of the race that's on there. I say race, but it's really just a 5K. So no racing needed.
Yeah. And Chief Gould and his staff from Fairfield PD have been outstanding for the past several years in supporting us. We'll be out there at the break of dawn, putting cones out, setting up the course on Sunday morning. It's just great, and it's for such a terrific cause, and it's just wonderful to be able to do it as part of the Domestic Violence Awareness Month activities.
It's great to see so many people, show up in the community as caring members and, as affected by this. It's really powerful for survivors, and just such a really nice event. It's just nice to get together for the common cause and raise money and awareness. The radio stations there, 107.9 The Mix and 93.5 Cruising Country. They usually have folks there with us, so the music is playing, and we really appreciate them doing that. It makes it feel really great to have the music and to have all the ambiance there. Yeah, we're so lucky, and we have some amazing sponsors this year too. I'll just say them because I just want to thank the community who shows up for this. So New Balance is a platinum sponsor, Reddington Fairview, and Maine Behavioral Health Organization. They are all platinum. For gold sponsors, we have KBH, Kennebec Behavioral Health, and then for silver sponsor, we have Central Maine Motors. So lots of great sponsors. We're always grateful to Channel 11 for having us, do this. Consider them a sponsor too. And of course KVCC and Goodwill Hinckley often has volunteers too. A lot of their students will come and volunteer to do the water station and give directions to folks so that people all stay on course. So we really appreciate our community for coming together for these awesome events where we show survivors we care, show the community this is something we care about.
And another thing folks can do to kind of show their support for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is coming up in October, is wear purple.
Yes, which neither of us are doing right now, which is, but yes, we have ribbons all around, purple ribbons that you can pick up. Maybe I'll see about putting some at the chamber. I think we'll be giving some, one of the initiatives that we're doing right now is a library campaign as well. So every library in the area will be getting 2 books, one for adults and one for kids, as well as materials to make a display. So you can stop down to your library, check out the books. There are lots of novels about domestic abuse too, so we'll be giving them a list of those so they can make, a display with different books. And every library is going to get Hands Are Not for Hitting, which is for children. It's a great book talking about exactly that. Hands are not for hitting. There are lots of wonderful things we can do with our hands. And there are ways, anger is a normal emotion, and there's all kinds of ways to deal with anger that does not hurt anyone, right? And so it talks about that. And so every library will be getting that one. And then we have 3 different titles we'll be dispersing to the different libraries. So everyone will get one of them. We have the verbally abusive relationship, should I stay or should I go? And why does he do that? So one of those titles will be given to each library because some of them already had one or the other. So we just picked a couple. So feel free to check out. The Somerset libraries have been so responsive and welcoming. So I'm grateful to them all for that. And look forward to, maybe more collaborations in the future, like book groups. So keep an eye out and talk to your library. If it's something you want, us, we'll go anywhere to talk about this. So feel free to give us a call and we'll come on out.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think that's what we have. Do you have any last thoughts, Mike?
Just again, if you know or love someone who you think is experiencing domestic violence, or there's domestic violence in their life, or maybe you yourself, just realize there are helps out there, especially from the Family Violence Project. It's a great way to start. It's a great introduction to all of the resources that are out there. And one of the things I hear a lot from working with survivors, again, is they feel alone. They feel like there's no one they can turn to. There's no one that's willing to listen or to help. But please know there are caring folks, caring agencies in Somerset County that are there for you and for survivors of domestic violence.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike, for saying that. And I should talk a moment about our services. Our helpline is the main one. That's how people access us. And you don't have to give your name. You can make up a name. If you're feeling like you are worried about confidentiality and you just want to talk to someone, you can make up a name. The way it works is you call our helpline, which is 1-877-890-7788. And I think John will be able to put that on the screen somehow when this airs. But you call and you get an answering service. And they'll take down your name and phone number. And again, you can use a fake name, or you can ask for the call to be patched through if it's not safe to receive a call back. That's an option as well. But usually you leave your name and phone number, and then an advocate will return your call within 15 minutes. And often, sometimes it's really fast. Sometimes it's like right away, but usually it takes a few minutes. But we work really hard to return that call within 15 minutes. And I'll let you know it is coming from a blocked number. We don't want this to show up. It'll say private or blocked call. And we will only call a couple times. So if no one answers, we're not going to keep calling because we don't know if it's no longer safe to call back, if you're not in a position to talk anymore. So we only try a couple times. And if it goes to voicemail, we don't leave a voicemail because, again, we don't know if it's safe to leave a voicemail. We don't know if your voicemail is being monitored. So if you're like, oh, I called and I never heard back, feel free to call again. And if you need to have that patched through, if that feels like the safest thing to do. And I wanted to give all that information because it can feel scary calling. So I want people to know what to expect. And then a trained advocate is the one who returns the call. Our advocates have all been through an extensive training that is over 40 hours. We are so grateful for all of our advocates because there's a lot that goes into being an advocate on the helpline. We also have emergency shelter in Somerset and Kennebec counties. We have our court advocates who help people through the court process. We are not lawyers, so we can't give legal advice, but we can walk you through the paperwork and the process and what to expect. And sometimes we can even be in the courthouse for support with you when that is happening, because court is sort of like another language. You know, it feels like there are different nuances and different things, and so we can help guide you through that and be there for support. We have advocates who are there, you know, just to do safety planning and support. I say just to do safety planning and support you. That is huge. I feel like that's such a big piece of just having that person that can listen and support you and help with options and resources. We do have some housing services. You know, oftentimes when people come through shelter, we work with them to get housing and, you know, continue working with people. We have our volunteer program, which is amazing. We love our volunteers. We have a CPS liaison who works with Child Protective System. They're an advocate, a family violence project, but they work in that system because that's often such a fear people have. You know, their partner says, if you ever leave, I'm going to call CPS. I'm going to call Child Protective and they're going to take the kids. Like, that is so scary. And that, you know, so we have an advocate who works at that agency, and I feel like they're an interpreter. They help explain to CPS why survivors might be doing things for their safety and for their children, even though it may not look like that from the outside. And they also support the survivor in navigating that system, which can feel really complicated and intimidating. We also have a domestic violence intervention program for people who have used violence in their relationship. It's often court mandated, but people can go by choice. You know, if you're someone who's using violence in your relationship and you are at the point where, like, this is not okay. I do not want to be hurting my friends, my partner, and love my partner, my family. You know, you can go through that program as well. It's an incredibly brave choice to realize this is not okay. It's not serving me. It's not okay for my partner. Because violence, you know, people who use it, you know, they think they're doing it to get their needs met, but it doesn't serve you in the long run at all. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your family. It's not good. And it's often based on this very deep belief system. And so it takes time to sort of understand that belief system and dismantle it to make different choices, because it's not serving you. You know, what people use violence for, they don't usually get what they're hoping for, which is, it's complicated, but it's not acceptable. You know, we need to talk to people about, if you see violence being used, you know, you want to approach it safely, but, you know, holding our friends and family members accountable for the violence they're using is really important. You know, law enforcement is a piece, you know, the domestic violence intervention is a piece, courts are a piece, but as a society, we need to hold people responsible for the violence they're using, because it's not okay.
Very well.
Wow. I could talk forever, clearly, but I think that's been enough. If anyone has any questions or wants to reach out, you can call our helpline. Again, the number is 1-877-890-7788. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mike.
Well, glad to be here, and hope to see you all on the 7th at the Vigil and on race day on the 17th.
Yes, and thank you so much, Channel 11, for all your support. Have a great day, y'all.